Yo, yo. All right, right, right. All right, right. Yo, all right, all right.
Well, all I know, they say Pastor been tricking and lying his ass off.
Let's go back over your career, nigga.
You niggas is hoes, nigga, and you will get exposed, nigga.
Oh, Bishop Lamar Whitehead, I've been doing some digging on his Instagram live feeds, and this man is getting guiltier and guiltier every time he opens his mouth. So this is him a couple hours ago on his Instagram live, where he gets into it with a couple of bloggers.
Did not do anything wrong to you. Why are you doing this? And he began to mock me. And then another young lady began to laugh and was mocking me. And I began as a human. I became human.
Next part's not very godly of him.
I called him,
We know what you called him.
the young lady, a blimp. I said, you're Biggie.
Oh yeah, you know, he didn't really mean to call them those names, but... This you? This you, bestie? Ooh, and y'all should read his church bio, because that's a trip, too. All right, I am completely sleep-deprived, but I went down one hell of a rabbit hole, and oh my gosh, you have to come with me. I feel like at this point, we're all pretty familiar with Bishop Lamar Whitehead. He was the pastor who was robbed at gunpoint on social media, etc., etc. And it's come out that he actually spent time in prison for identity theft for $2 million. And I just spent the last 2 hours reading all of his appeals. Yes, all of them. My eyeballs feel like they're gonna fall out, but it was totally worth it because it was a fascinating ride. But before I start, this is a little bio from his website where he said he was sentenced for 11 1/3 to 34 years in prison. Not true, he was sentenced from 10 to 24 years. He also claims that his sentence was overturned after 6 years. Again, not true. In fact, towards the end of his sentence, he was actually sentenced to an extra 118 days. He just literally got out for good behavior. The story starts in 2005 when a woman received a call from a credit company asking about her loan application. But here's the thing, she never applied for a loan. However, someone had purchased a motorcycle in her name. 1 month later, Whitehead was actually arrested riding the motorcycle that was bought in her name. Then the detectives were able to trace back the number that was associated with the loan back to a fraudulent phone number. And it turns out there were like 10 of them with a bunch of different voicemails, etc., etc. All of them leading back to Whitehead. He even had recorded outgoing messages on these voicemails. They then were able to trace the names back to a car dealership in which his girlfriend at the time worked at. He had coerced her into giving him the password to her computer, as well as the names of all the people with good credit. Then when they arrested him again, it turns out the Land Rover that he was driving was also a car that was purchased with a fraudulent loan application. Now here's where things get a little dicey. So he had 2 homes, one in New York, one in New Jersey. In the New York one, they found some cell phones, fake IDs, documents, and then one in New Jersey, they found a laptop and some other documents and cell phones. Throughout the course of this, he had 4 different lawyers. So lawyer 1 asked for discovery, and they ADA only included the documents and the cell phones from the New York home because the New Jersey stuff was outside the scope of discovery legally required to turn over. So lawyer 1 told Whitehead that they didn't really have much to stand on and that it was probably going to get dropped. He gets indicted with 10 different counts of things. So that's when they fire lawyer number 1. In comes lawyer number 2. She also asked for discovery, and this time she actually goes and physically rummages through the discovery. Now, the ADA said that they didn't have the warrant for the laptop there with them, but it was there and she can look at it whenever she wanted, but apparently she didn't. Now, this laptop had all of the software that was downloaded from the car dealership, so all of the victims were on there. And it looks like I'm gonna have to do a part 2 to this. You got it, here's part 2. And here's a mugshot of Lamar Whitehouse, soon to be Bishop. Now, at some point, the ADA comes to lawyer number 2 with a plea deal saying if he pleads guilty, he'll do 1 year in jail. She laid out for Whitehouse the evidence that she had seen, not including the laptop because she never looked at that. So he declines the deal and decides to go to trial instead. Lo and behold, suddenly this laptop shows up in evidence and he is charged with 56 counts of identity theft. At that point, lawyer number 2 gets the axe. And in comes lawyer number 3. Now, Whitehouse tells lawyer number 3 that he does not have the affidavits for the search warrants. She, in turn, requests it from the ADA, who then gives it to her. However, apparently she was running for political office at the same time, so she was very hard to get a hold of. Apparently, he only even saw her in court. She never tells him that she got the affidavits, and she doesn't challenge them in any way, which honestly probably because, he was guilty. Or perhaps it's because November 2007 was when pretrial started, and then that's when the orders for motion to suppress, et cetera, started happening. However, Whitehead had already told the court that he was going to get a new lawyer. She was just going to stay there until he found one. And it was January 2008 that those affidavits ended up on her desk. So genuinely lost in the shuffle, or maybe she just didn't give a fuck. So then on the first day of the trial, the last day he could get a new lawyer, lawyer number 4 finally came through. So now he's playing catch up on this whole case, trying to sort through 3 other attorneys' files. And basically the lawyer lost his chance to suppress any evidence, or at least challenge it, although I don't think they had anything to challenge. The detective on the case, his testimony lasted 7 days. And apparently, on one of those days, the court clerk forgot to remind him that he was still under oath. And the lawyer missed it. But you know what? In a way, Whitehead was acquitted of 17 of the 34 counts against him. All right, now this next part's weird to me because I've watched a lot of crime shows and I've never heard of this happening. But he ended up being sentenced from 10 to 20 years. Like, they didn't give him a number. They just said, sometime in between here, you'll be free. And I've never heard of them not giving a number. So if anyone can explain that to me, let me know. So then way down the line, he tries to argue that he had ineffective counsel, which he kind of lost the right to do unless it was immediately on direct appeals. So you can't just decide you don't like the outcome of the case and decide they were incompetent later on. But then he tried to get slick. Remember how he was arrested on the motorcycle for the very first time and put everybody on his radar? Well, he still hadn't been tried for what he was arrested for with that. And that case was in New Jersey. And prior to this trial, he had made a deal with them. So then he thought he could argue in court that that deal negated that entire trial. And then somehow, after he gets out in 2013, becomes best friends with the now mayor of New York, Adams. And we'll dive into that sketch next. Yep. The mayor of New York is besties with Lamar Whitehead. I'm not even exaggerating when I say there are dozens of pictures of these two together online. Here they are wearing casual polo shirts. And once again, doing the polo shirt thing. So the details on their friendship are kind of murky, like the who, what's, where's, and how, blah, 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 how they met. But an associate close to Eric Adams said that they probably met in the 90s during the 100 Cops for Good something. I don't know, some NYPD program he piloted. Which is kind of weird because Whitehead's father, legendary political activist Arthur Miller, was beaten to death by 16 cops. And since none of those cops were ever brought up on charges, my guess is it's a little bit of guilt. Anyhow, Whitehead had a history of using this to advantage because he would say that his youth program would shadow NYPD officers and all this stuff. It got so bad that the district attorney and the New York Police Department had to give him a cease and desist. Stop saying that we're involved with your program because we're not. Now, May of 2022 is where this gets interesting because that's when Whitehead's popularity skyrocketed. A man by the name of Andrew Abdullah shot and killed a Goldman Sachs employee on the platform of a train. This is when Whitehead called up his now elected mayor friend, Eric Adams, and said he was here on behalf of the family wanting to negotiate a surrender. He said he would bring him to the police station, but Eric Adams had to be there, which is extremely ill-advised for many reasons that I'm not going to get into now. However, while these negotiations were taking place, Abdullah was meeting with a legal aid attorney, and then that's where police intercepted him in case he was going to flee. Then, according to the lawyer, he had nothing to do with the family. Although Whitehead claims that his aunt was a member of the congregation, it has never been confirmed that she called for him for help. He did, however, show up back to the police station for Abdullah's booking solo in a white Rolls Royce dressed in Fendi, earning him the nickname the Bling Bishop. Ironically enough, a former volunteer for Eric Adams' mayoral campaign had actually sued this man in the past. He claimed that he had stolen $19,000 off of the sale of a house that he had done for him, but he dropped the suit because he was already in jail at that point. It wasn't until recently that the youth's program then evolved into the service side of the church, which is just another reason why this whole thing is just a big setup. And despite being a mortgage broker and a real estate agent, I looked up his net worth and it's about $2 million in assets. I also read reports that his income was around $85,000. So how does this man have $1 million in diamonds, a Maserati, a Bentley, a Rolls? He spent his birthday having a closed shopping trip at Versace. But I found the original unedited version of the robbery. And I'm gonna play it for you in the next video because I have some thoughts. Oh, well, let me help you out there, bestie, because here's part 4. I wanted to show you a video from Instagram that gives us a layout of this place. All right, now check out the position of this camera. Notice how tall and sturdy this camera is right there? That camera's way up and it's surrounded by things, all right? Remember that.
Die what you about to go through. Yo. All right.
All right, now watch this camera. It moves once, and then it moves twice. Just so that he is just out of frame. Like you can still see him, but you can't see the jewelry being taken off of him. All right, now we see one person going over there. Now they are going over there, and they are getting stuff off of the pastor. The other guy had ran over and is reportedly like collecting stuff from the wife. Now, coming back, he's gonna drop something. Yep, drop something, picks it back up, goes away.
Nobody move.
Now watch. This guy over here just doesn't move the entire time, which is bizarre. All right, now someone else is coming over to come, you know, snatch the chains off of the pastor. And he's gonna do this weird like fish flop move. That's apparently him like ripping the collar to get to the secret chains that weren't even visible. So how did he know that they were even there? Now watch, he's gonna walk away and I swear he's gonna make eye contact with the kid over here. And I'm pretty sure this kid is, yep, there it was, see? I'm pretty sure that's the son. Now, the third person is coming over here to again go through the pastor's stuff. Then he runs off. Why did all 3 of them have to go there? Now watch, reportedly they just left. And now watch how fast the pastor walks away. All right, so it's assumed that they all stand up after the robbers leave, right? And then that's when Whitehead gets up and kind of meanders after them. You saw how fast they were running. He's a brisk walk. But somehow after that time and at that pace, he was able to get out there in time to see them changing in the back seat of a Mercedes-Benz and drive away. Oh, and also a little suspicious that they didn't grab that iPad that was sitting right there on the pulpit. And later off screen, his wife says something about another iPad. So there's 2 iPads, an expensive camera, and no other person in the congregation was hit. Nope, I ain't buying it. So I was about to finally take a nap when this happened. Surprise! The good pastor stole one of his parishioners' life savings. According to a lawsuit filed last year, 56-year-old Pauline Anderson gave $90,000 to the pastor. She wanted to buy a home, but had bad credit, and he said that he could buy it for her. She didn't want to do this because she was living off of her life savings, but he gave her $100 a month allowance, and then just was holding on to the money while he looked for the perfect home. During this time, he was running for borough president, which he lost, and he was pretty hard to get a hold of apparently. Then suddenly he stopped giving her her monthly payments, and he sent her in a text message that he was considering it a donation to his campaign. And since they didn't have a contract nor a receipt, he could do whatever he wanted with it. He was introduced to this woman after she had had a life-saving surgery, and he prayed with her. Apparently, a month after he sent that text message, he accidentally emailed her a copy of the $4.4 million property he was trying to buy. I now officially live to see this man go down.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Bishop Whitehead, and I'm gonna walk y'all into my prayer closet. This is my prayer closet. And one would think that, wow, look at your closet. Got all my priestly robes and more. Designer coats, you name it, Gucci, Louis, you name it. Fendi, you name it. More coats. And then when you walk into my shoe closet, every designer wear for days. But I didn't come on to talk about designer
All
wear.
the up people getting blessings and record deals and this and that, because the devil will bless you too, making you think the way that you living is right. So then when all of this on this earth is over and done, you gonna be fucked up. Can I get an amen, somebody? Amen. Hallelujah. Don't be sitting here basing your blessings, come on somebody, off of what somebody else got, because what they got may not be for you, and what they got they may not have